Oh, and we are live. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 261 of Behind the ToolBelt. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday morning edition. We decided to do today instead of Christmas morning or Christmas afternoon. Now, we could have probably gotten away with it, but I figured I wouldn't put everybody through that on Christmas afternoon or morning. So today we have another special guest, and stay tuned, and we will be back after our short intro from our sponsors.
TC Backer. Roofing, siding, windows, gutters, solar. Roofing, siding, windows, gutters, solar. TC Backer.
Is your lead flow down? Whether you're a company owner, office staff, salesperson, or installer, you're a roofing rock star. We help you get more leads with custom SEO, Google Ads, and a pro website.
Hey everyone, I'm here at the Irving Convention Center where we're kicking off SRC 2025, February 4th through 6th, so mark your calendar. SRC Summit's right around the corner, so make sure to go ahead and secure your tickets. You definitely don't want to miss this year with over 40 industry experts, speakers, a full vendor trade show, and plenty of networking opportunities. You're sure to set yourself up for success in 2025 and beyond. I look forward to seeing you there.
Welcome to Behind the ToolBelt, where the stories are bold, the conversations are real, and the insights come to you live, raw, and uncut. Every week, host Ty Cobb Backer sits down with game changers, trailblazers, and industry leaders who aren't afraid to tell it like it is. No filters, no scripts, just the truth. Please welcome your host of Behind the ToolBelt, Ty Cobb Backer.
Welcome back, everybody. Happy Christmas Eve, everybody. Man, it's come quick this year. I don't know what happened, but man, it's here. It's tomorrow. Tomorrow's the big day. And we have another great special, I say special guest every week. But truly today, we have one of my mentors from a distance, whether you know it or not, Jeff, the founder, the leader of Impact Nations, Global Ministries. Jeff, I had the wonderful honor and privilege and pleasure to travel to Uganda with Jeff a couple, I think 2 years ago now. And for me, I'm still different, changed person from the time I met you, Jeff, to the stories that I got to listen to on stage down in Austin, Texas, at that Revolt retreat. Have been following you ever since. I know we've had a couple conversations, and here we are today, Jeff. So, Jeff Battles, everybody, welcome, Jeff, to Behind the ToolBelt, my man.
Thank you so much, man. What a privilege to be on here. We've talked about it for quite a while, so I'm glad that we could finally make it happen. So appreciate you.
Yeah, me too. I think we were trying to carve out some time when we were over in Uganda, but you were crazy busy and involved with all kinds of things that I had no idea, and very, very, eye-opening things that I got to experience while we were over there. It definitely put me in a different mindset of, when I think things are going, not so well for me, and has put things in perspective on so many different levels. It's amazing what you do. And that's kind of why I wanted to bring you on the show today. I mean, no better person, I think, the day before Christmas, someone that gives more than I'm sure you have, probably most of your life. But let's dive into a little bit of like your background, like, what it was like, how you got here, and what it's like now.
Yeah. I appreciate, once again, man, I appreciate everything and giving me this time and opportunity. When it comes to our ministry, it actually, the ministry was birthed at one of the really lowest and darkest times of my life. To be honest with you, you think that when you start a ministry, you start something that you believe God is calling you to do, you start at a mountain peak or at a high place in your life when everything is going well. But that's actually not the way that it happened. And it's interestingly enough, as tomorrow we celebrate the birth of Christ. If you think about it, even Christ was born in the dirtiest place that you can possibly be born. In fact, the time that he was born, the king had ordered the killing of every young male under the age of 2. So you think about the circumstances that he was born in and became king. And so when I was called to the ministry, my wife and I were going through a divorce. We were going through the hardest time of my life. I was a liar. I was living in sin. All of these things were happening. And it was then God said, I have a mission for you. I have a plan for you. And I thought, why would you call somebody like me? My life is a wreck. I can't do anything right. But it's interesting. That's really how you know the character of God, is when you realize that he sees who you're supposed to be, not who you are right now. And I believe that if we see more people that way, we stop looking at them for the choices that they made yesterday and start realizing that they have a potential for tomorrow. And so that's really when it all started, as I got called at that point in time. And my very first mission was in the Middle East. With my military background, I needed more. I couldn't just sit in a church pew every week. So I got called, and I was in the Middle East my very first time. And it's never been the same since then. I think when someone gives you a chance when you don't deserve a chance, I believe it pushes you a little bit harder each day to be better, because somebody believing in you goes a lot further than someone condemning you from things that you did publicly and ruined a lot of your past and a lot of relationships that you had. So it was a very powerful start. But I'm just so thankful that I'm in that opportunity. And so from today forward, we just believe that we want to spend as much time as we can making people's lives better. So
Yeah. Yeah. So what was, I mean, I know you said that you were going through a rough patch in your life, and it sounds like most of it was self-induced due to bad decision making or
yep.
or substance or mental, whatever the case might be. But what happened, like when you decided to take the path that you're on now, like where, like, did you lose your house? Like, you're obviously, you said your wife was leaving you, but like, how did you know, like, okay, today's the day I'm going to change? Or was it like a progression over time?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because at the time I had more money than I could ever imagine. I was even mentored by Donald Trump, and 7 different times we had met, and he mentored us in business, and I had a massive house. I had 5 or 6 cars. I had everything on the outside that you would think that people would want and that they pray for every day. And the problem is the outside was perfect, but the inside was full of filth. Um, I was just doing the opposite. I was standing on stages reciting scripture, but I was living the exact opposite of the way that I was preaching and teaching. So I just took a nosedive. And I've realized in life, when God exposes you for the things that you're hiding per se in the dark, it's not really a punishment. It's an opportunity for us to open up, turn around, get back, and head on the right direction. So God had told me to give up that business, to let go of that, because it was that success. I was in Success Magazine 4 different times. It was that success that kept me so full of pride. So success is good in itself, but when you do it in the wrong way and you're full of pride, he will take you backwards to start from square one, just so you know, okay, success is not bad, but who I was. And so I needed to start all over again. So I literally had to get rid of everything. I sold off all of my possessions to go start ministry, and it wasn't really a punishment. It was God stripping everything in my life that I was holding on to. And I found my strength in him instead of all the things that I could acquire on my own or the things that money could buy. So after all of that had happened and I had hit that low, I was actually my wife used to pray for me in her closet when I would be out living in sin and doing stupid things. And she would go in that closet and pray. It was a big walk-in closet. And it was it was one day when she had left and the kids had left. So I was in a 6-bedroom house with the only bedroom that had anything in it was mine, and it was me. And I walked into her closet to just go in and pray or do something. I was at loss. And so I walked into her closet and I literally felt the power from where she had been praying for me that entire time that I was being an idiot. And so when I went in there, I brought my pillow in that room, and I believe I stayed in there for hours. And all I could do was just weep, and all I could do was cry. And I found myself so weak that I couldn't even get up off of the floor. And it was in that moment when I couldn't even get up is when God literally entered and just said, I have a job for you. And now imagine when your performance is horrible, your life choices are horrible, your circumstances are horrible, you're declining faster than you've ever increased in your life. And that's when God says, I have something for you to do. I'm calling you. I'm appointing a mission to you. And I believe that it was that moment that I realized, like, every single circumstance biblically, every single person that God pulled, he pulled them from the ground. He pulled them from the lowest point of their lives and said, I have something for you. And so it was that time that everything really transformed and changed for me. I'm still not perfect. I still make stupid choices. But I realized that every time I fall, I know now you just get up and you keep going in the same direction that you were going in if it's the right way. So yeah, it was a challenging start, but I'll tell you, I wouldn't trade it for anything, because it's those rocky times and it's those valleys that teach you how good the mountaintop really can be.
Yeah. Amen to that. Amen to that. So you touched on the word success quite a few times there when you were talking. Would you say that your definition or your perception of success has changed?
100%. Yeah.
So how do you define success today?
Well, I think success without peace, without joy, without purpose, I think is not really truly success. I mean, we a lot of times success has been polished up is on the outside if you have the tangible things, but I think really success is that's just a byproduct, in my opinion. I believe success starts on the inside. If you have joy, if you have peace, if you know the direction you're supposed to be going. I know people that have the nicest cars, the nicest houses, but have no idea where they're supposed to be at and what they're supposed to be doing. I think the poorest person in the world, all they have is money. Money is a byproduct. Money is a tool that you shouldn't serve money, but money should serve you. And I believe that when you start putting money second, or third or fourth, I believe that it's a lot easier to attain when it stops becoming such an idol in our lives. And that's really what's happened for us. And in fact, if you remember, it was a little over a year ago. It was December of last year that I sat on the phone with you and I said to you, I contemplated even quitting the ministry because funding it was just so difficult and so hard. And I said, I was expecting all these business owners to support us in what we're doing, and it really didn't happen. And so I prayed. I said, God, if you don't want me doing this anymore, if you don't want me traveling the world anymore, then you just need to give me a sign and show me. And I thought he was giving me a sign that, hey, no support means you should stop. And what I realized is I was asking for support, but I wasn't asking for wisdom. And so I realized the success that you had in business, the success that just from the years of grinding and just in one direction, I thought, you know what, give me 30 minutes of your time. And if you remember, you gave me and a few other people 30 minutes of your time. And I haven't had to go back because I literally took the nuggets that you said in that 30 minutes and I just applied everything that you said. I don't want to do it this way. You already were creating a path to success. So I just took those items that you said, I wrote them down and we applied them that month. And today, even though the giving in the ministry was down today, in the month of December, over $30,000 has gone out in global support and in missions this month. It was one of our biggest months in just support that we've ever had, thanks to a 30-minute phone call when you just said, do this, do this, do this. And I said, okay. And so I just wanted to let you know that 30-minute call has gone a lot further than you think.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Cause I try to think back to that call because you said it to me a couple times, or thanked me a couple times, whether through a comment on social media or over the phone. For me, I just, I didn't realize at that time how impactful it was going to be for you. So I'm grateful for the trials and tribulations and ups and downs and ebbs and flows that I've been through. And that's how, when I asked you, how do you measure success today? It's definitely impact over profit. And the impact that we have, the amount of impact that we have on people's lives today is how I measure impact, not
Yeah.
necessarily by the dollars in my checking account. It's the amount of people that we're able to impact. And I also feel like that I've been given a second chance, and I call it the extended warranty. You know how you get that phone call? Sometimes you get those spam calls all the time, and they're trying to extend your car
Yep.
warranty. Well, I took them up on that. And when I got that call, I was like, you know what? Thank you for that extended warranty. I'm on borrowed time today, and and I had to make a decision. What am I going to do with this time, this borrowed time that I'm on today? Am I gonna take advantage of it, or am I going to take it for granted? And I've chosen, and I've not been perfect myself, and I've found God in the basement of churches, and that's typically where we do a lot of our work, is not necessarily in God's house, but like in the basement of God's house, whether it's the food pantries, whether it's the other events and things that I participate in, and that's kind of where I found, and he spoke to me through obviously other people in the pages of the books and stuff that I read and stuff like that. But the part of success where I think so many people get it wrong, they're chasing the dollars, they're chasing the cents, and it's like what happens is like that actually gets in the way of God. Like whenever you put money in front of God or whatever program that you're involved with, those are the things that you tend to lose. And I think for me, and I've gone through it before, and I've hit rock bottom myself. And it's kind of like, that's where I needed to hear his message, because the noise that I created in my life, I couldn't hear what he wanted me to do.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that was some, you hit your bottom differently, but we all have different bottoms. But that feeling of the guilt and the shame and the fear, I think, is all the same. I think the feelings are all the same, regardless of how we got there. And I was trying to think of an analogy yesterday after I spoke to you and asked you if you wanted to come on the show. I was trying to think, like, do you think, I guess this is more so a question, like, do you think, why does it take someone like you and me to have to lose everything before we think it's a good idea that we were on the wrong path?
Yeah. I think that really the whole idea of everything, I think that's the reason why, is because we thought everything was the wrong thing. Everything was the parts of life that we build ourselves. But I've realized that just like in the book of Jeremiah, it says, before you were formed in the womb, I knew you. And so there was a plan for me and you before we were even born. And I think the problem is God has his plan, but then we have our plan because we have free will. And a lot of times we decide what we think we're supposed to do. We make our own choices. And that's the powerful thing about second chances, is that when we realize, wow, this is the wrong road, we have the opportunity to turn around. And that's my prayer, that especially through this holiday season, that people realize that it's okay to turn around. It's okay to say I was wrong. It's okay to say I made a mistake. And I think that's the biggest part, is pride keeps us on that road for so long. For me, I found my identity in what I consider to be success. I found my identity in $100,000 cars. I found my identity in a 6-bedroom house. And that's what's crazy, is because I thought people loved me. And on the outside, when I walked out on stages, everyone was clapping, but they had no idea who I was. They didn't know I was suffering. They didn't know that I would have traded my situation for theirs. Even though they were broke, they were poor, I would have traded in a heartbeat, because I was literally driving that $100,000 life in the wrong direction as fast as I could go. But today it's interesting. We have more tangible things today than we did back then. But it doesn't control me. It doesn't drive my ship anymore, if that makes sense. It's nothing to get something that I always wanted and then turn around and give it away, because I realized what I always wanted was the peace that I have now, was the joy that I have now, and most importantly, even the purpose that I have now. So I wouldn't trade that for anything today.
Yeah. Yeah, me neither. Me neither. And it's like, my motivation today is differently. It's not the things necessarily that I have acquired from doing the next right thing all the time. It's more so what I can give. And it's like I guess for me, my priorities have changed a lot. And again, I'm not perfect by no means, but usually there's red flags that go up, and I realize like I'm getting off track here a little bit. But it's just funny. Money has become more of has allowed us to have a bigger impact. It's almost like I didn't know how. I wasn't responsible enough, I guess, at the time early on in my career, or prior to, because our stories are a lot alike. So I had small success about 2 decades ago, and small success, a little bit of a fortune, and for a short period of time, and I ended up losing it all.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was because I had put everything in front of God, and it appeared that everything that I had put in front of God was removed from me. Okay. But what the crazy part of that is that he left me everything that I needed. Now, mind you, I was behind bars.
Mhm.
Okay. And you want to talk about powerlessness, as I'm still trying to control the show. I'm still trying to be the director. Okay. In this concrete steel building, and having people hang up on me, right? I get a 5-minute window to use the phone, and I'm screaming and I'm hollering, still self-will run riot, trying
Yep.
to be the director, and people would just hang up, click, because they didn't have to put up with it anymore because I
Yeah.
was there. And
Yep.
I needed all of that to get humble. And
Yeah.
what's crazy is, it's like the minute that I dropped to my knees in that small little cell, and I said to God, like, please help me. And I've said foxhole prayers many, many, many times, but something changed. Somebody came to visit me, and they were so grateful that I was still alive because of the way that I was living my life, and treating others, and treating my
Yeah.
body, and
Yeah.
things like that. And he came in, he'd visit me once a week, and eventually I was able to get out. And it's like the second day that I got out of jail, like I hit the ground running. My purpose was different. My
Yeah.
motivation was different. It was coming from someplace else, and it was a motivation that I've never felt before or got to experience until I actually had
Yeah.
lost everything. And it was so funny. Like, I went to work the second day I was out. The first day I would have went to work, but I had to run around and do the parole officer thing, and
Yep.
pay
Yep.
the cup, and do all these things. But literally the second day, I had already had a job lined up. I was on a roof the second day. I had found someone that could drive me around in my vehicle, that was an assistant, that was my helper. And literally there was people like kind of waiting for Ty to get his shit together for
Yeah.
me already. Like,
Yeah.
people were put in place, and like God had started putting people in my life. And my gratitude today is much different. Like, I find gratitude in other things, not money. Like, I'm not grateful for having money. And don't get me wrong, there are still times, because we give so much away there,
Yeah.
and it sometimes it creates financial insecurity at times, but we continuously keep giving. And then all of a sudden, like, that's the silver bullet, like that's the silver lining, where it's like continuously keep giving. And then all of a sudden, it's like the next thing you know, things are just working out, even when I'm giving, when I don't have myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's,
100%. Can you still hear me
then
okay?
Yep. No, you're perfect.
Okay.
We
Okay.
hear you. Yeah, we hear
Okay.
you. And I could talk about that for hours, but let's talk a little bit, like, what is, for those that aren't familiar with, Impact Nations, why don't you explain to us what that is? Because I think for us, we're having a conversation. We know what Impact is, but why don't you explain, like, what it is that you're doing, and some of the programs, not just locally, but globally?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that people ask me all the time, why are you going overseas so much? Why are you doing so much of your ministry work over there? It's real simple. That's just where I was called. Trust me, I wish I could be doing it here in US. I'd be saving a lot of money, a lot of travel, a lot of time, and even more safe. But originally we just started out by taking the gospel across the world. We started taking it to the Middle East. We started taking it to Pakistan, Afghanistan, places where it was illegal to preach that message. And over time, we started going to Africa. And so it started out preaching large crusades. We've preached to crowds of almost 500,000 people at one setting at one time. But over time, as I continue to study the word and study the Bible, I realized that Jesus built his whole ministry one by one. He would literally go out of his way. In fact, in John chapter 4, it literally talks about Jesus was walking to this well, and he was so tired that he had to sit down and take a rest. So imagine God himself walking by foot, so tired that he had to sit down because he had a meeting with just one woman that was married 5 times and was living with another man that she wasn't married to. And it's like God himself would wear himself out to go meet a caliber of person just like that. And so some things shifted over the last really couple of years as we have so many individual stories and individual testimonies where somebody would just stand out in that crowd, and we would really just invest and put our resources and our energy and our time and just our attention into one single person. You'd have a crowd of 10,000 people, but one person would stand out. And so that one person we're still with today. That one person at this meeting we're still with today, whether it be a little kid in a village that we didn't forget their birthday, or whether it be a blind woman from a village who was taken advantage of. It's one thing after another. And so we have probably about 200 people across the world today right now that we individually provide for, that we take care of, that we cover their rent, cover their schooling, make sure their kids have an opportunity to go to school that they never had before. And so even though we've ministered to the large crowds, and we still do, through the word, it really showed me, don't forget about the one. Don't forget about that one person, because if their story stands out to you, there's a reason for that. And God's saying, I choose this one, and I want you to stay with this one because this one has a plan. This one has a purpose. And it's not that everyone doesn't, but your assignment is not everyone. You have to pay attention. When God says this one, he means for you, that person is for you to pour into, to love on. So that's one of the things that we really do is we pinpoint and narrow down when God reveals somebody to us. We just stick with them through the thick and through thin, through hard times, whatever it may be. And it's amazing to see. In fact, I think you witnessed one of the young girls. She's now 14 years old, but we rescued her out of a really dark situation a few years back. And now she's preaching to thousands of people every time she gets the opportunity. And if you knew her situation, if you knew her story before, you'd be like, I'm amazed to see like where God has brought her. But every miracle that God does today on earth, he does it through a man or a woman that says, yes, I'll do it. So that's really what our heart is right now at Impact is really the biggest thing that we're working on today. It's called a storehouse. And what I've noticed over the years of going to church and being part of church is that the storehouse in the Bible was a place where all of the churchgoers would come, and they would bring a little bit of food, or a little bit of flour, or a little bit of eggs. Or it wasn't about money to buy bigger buildings. It was about things that would meet the needs of the people. And I noticed that's missing. And I watched in church in Africa, I would watch how a single mother would come and have nothing. She would have no food, no diapers for her child, but she would bring money to the church. And I'm like, what is happening? How is this mother not able? I mean, she's coming to a place where there's 300 or 400 or 500 people, and she's starving. And it wasn't settling. So like a couple of years straight, I was burdened by this. And I was actually very angry at the church for a long time. And then I realized, like, if there's something in your life that's causing you to not sleep at night, if it's causing you to wake up and you think about it when you wake up, it's because God is saying, do something. He's like, I'm calling you to do something about it, not complain about it, but do something. So it was about a month ago, I met with the president of Uganda's brother to discuss a land deal to where we can build a storehouse to where single mothers, widows, and even young children who have no family, orphans, can go and get the things that they need. They can get this food, they can get the diapers, they can get the things that they need to survive. And so we're actually beginning that process right now. It's beyond anything I can do on my own financially. It's going to cost more than I'm able to do, but God didn't tell us to plan based on what's in your bank account. He says plan based on what I'm showing you and what I'm telling you. So that's really one of our biggest missions right now, is to build the very first across other nations in those times. And I believe it's going to be huge. It's going to be massive. I believe Kenya and other nations are going to say, how did you guys do this? Because we want to do it too. And it's a way that the church and the community and the people can contribute very little, but it can go so far with the people who have nothing. So that's our prayer right now, is just to really fend for the ones that the Bible tells us to, the widows and the orphans.
Wow. Jeff, what would you say your biggest challenge is?
The biggest challenge is sometimes I get impatient, and I'm like, God, hurry up. I'm here and you're back here. So will you catch up with me? And there's a reason why. There's a timing for everything. And so I get sometimes stressed, like sometimes get a little bit frustrated because, money is always a factor, but this is why you seek wisdom instead of reward, because wisdom allows you to get a reward anytime you want it. Anytime you need it, you can go out and get it. And so the wisest man and the richest man to ever live was King Solomon. And the book of Proverbs is so full of power. It's so full of just wisdom that if you apply it, it's amazing. It's literally like it's like a pathway and a guide to success in every different category of life. And so I'd say probably our biggest challenge a lot of times is me wanting to run faster than what God is saying in the moment, because there's a process, and in that process is where you learn more than actually crossing the finish line. And so he wants us all to really invest and spend time in that process in the valleys of life, because that's where he teaches you everything about himself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can you share with us like the most impactful story that you've got to experience while doing this?
I will do that, but I will say that some of them are so crazy that I don't know that a lot of people would even, and if I didn't have it on video and if I didn't have it on photograph, people wouldn't believe it. But, it was one of my very first trips. You got to understand, my very first trip to Pakistan, I still had the scent of sin on my life. So I'm there preaching in front of thousands of people, and I was just reading from my Bible. I wasn't a good preacher. It was my first time ever. And so, and there were guns, people with guns up on top of rooftops and stuff watching me. And so I'm preaching, and in the middle of preaching, there was two women who brought this child up to the altar, and the child was not alive. The child was dead. And you can imagine how afraid I was, because here you read in the Bible about the dead being raised, the sick being healed, all of this stuff. And but here I was, this sinful man, like starting for the first time, starting to preach. My very first sermon I ever preached was there. It was that sermon, first one I ever preached. And here they bring this dead baby to the altar, and they brought this baby because here they thought this man of God is there from America. He's just this mighty man God is using all over the world. Meanwhile, I was scared to death. And so they bring this child, and I didn't know what to do. At first, the security team was making them leave, but all I could think about was in the Bible, there was a woman with an issue of blood that she needed to get to Jesus. She didn't care what people thought. She's like, if I can just get to Jesus, I know I'll get my healing. And so that's all I could think about. So I'm like, don't make them leave. Mm-hmm. And so I leaned over this child, and I started I was going to pray. I was like, God, heal this, but I was going to pray, but all I could do is start crying. All I could do is start weeping. And I was like, Lord, if I had known that you were going to put me in a situation and allow me to be in a situation like this, I never would have lived the life that I lived. I never would have completely turned my back on you, turned my back on my family. I never would have done that if I had known that this was the level you were going to take me. And I cried. And I didn't even pray for the baby, because all I could do is repent of my sin. So imagine the preacher repenting of a sin in front of about 5,000 people. Mm-hmm. And so I finished weeping over this child, and I get up, and the women were pointing at the baby like, what's going on? The baby's still dead. He's still laying here. Like, I thought you were going to pray. And I get up and I back up and I went to go read my Bible. And as they picked the baby up to walk back to their seats, the next thing I knew, I heard screaming. The women started screaming. And in that moment, the baby started breathing. Even now, it's emotional, because I'm sitting there realizing I didn't even pray. I didn't even pray for that child to wake up, because I didn't even have the words to say. I'm like, this is beyond what I can do, because I'm a sinful piece of garbage. So why would God even listen to me at something like this? And when I heard them screaming and I realized what happened, it was in that moment that God showed me, and he realized, like, Jeff, it's never been about how good you've been. It's never, all I need is your yes. And God showed me in that moment, if you give me your yes, I will do everything that I promised that I would do. And so you have to put yourself to the side, how dirty you've been, how wicked you've been, and realize, yes, we've been bad, but he's always been good. And it was that time. And from that time, I have seen so many things that I can't even explain, that it doesn't even make sense. But it was that moment that realized he just showed me, I'm God, you're man. Let's keep it that way. And so I'll never forget that time, because that was my very first mission, my very first time, and it's changed my life forever. Because there was no other explanation. This baby wasn't dead for 5 minutes. This baby was dead for 3 hours. For
Wow.
3 hours.
Wow.
And they heard about the crusade, and they're like, this is our last hope. And I think, this is our only hope. And I think that's our problem here in America, is God is like number 4 on the list. First, let's try medicine. First, let's try this. First, let's try this. And then after everything else has failed, let's turn to him. But that was their first thing. They heard there was a gospel crusade. They heard the Bible was being preached. By the way, these were Muslim women. They believed that Jesus was a healer more than any Christian I've ever met. And they came because this is our hope. This is our chance. And that's what happened. So I think that's what really shaped the entire ministry. And so many amazing things after that, but that probably was the most impactful thing I've ever experienced. And it's, by the way, that's not the only time it's happened. I've seen that happen now twice. And it's unexplainable, but I'm so thankful for it.
Wow. I mean, I'm speechless. I haven't heard that story yet. I should have probably asked you that a long time ago, but man, and I believe it. I believe that happened, and you're right. I'm sure there's probably some people that might be listening to this or might listen to it later on and think, yeah, okay, whatever. But I actually got to experience something when I was in Uganda with you. And it's not quite that, wonderful, but of course I was questioning myself, like, what am I doing here? It was very uncomfortable. But I got to experience some things and saw some things, and I questioned it at first. And you did you did an altar call where everybody was coming up, and you had asked us that had joined you on this crusade to help pray for these people. And I have prayed for people. I've always been taught, pray for those, especially those that I might be angry at, right? Like pray for those people for everything that you want for yourself, right?
Yeah.
But I've also prayed for, my mom and my loved ones and people like that, but not to this extent. So I had this young gentleman, and I don't even know if I told you this or not, but I had this young gentleman, and for those of you that know me, you know my story and why I'm here and why I do what I do today. But I was questioning myself, and I was kind of getting some pressure from the guys, like, have you really turned your God, your will and your life over to the care of God? That's not exactly how they said it, but that's I have. But if I had ever had any doubt, if there was a power out there greater than myself, what happened to me, what I got to experience over there has definitely smashed that idea of, like, okay, there is, I know for a fact that there is. So long story short, I had this young gentleman come up to me, and he had asked me to pray for him. And I said, what would you like me to pray for you? He looked at me in the face, and he says, I struggle with alcoholism. I drink too much. And at that exact moment, I knew exactly why I was there, Jeff. Like I said, for those of you that know me, know that I've struggled with alcoholism pretty much my whole entire life. Now, I've been sober for over 14 years now, but at that moment, I knew exactly why I was there, why God had placed me there was to pray for this guy. And I'm not, and for those of you that know me, know that I'm not a Bible bumper or anything like that, but I do believe in a higher power, and I choose to call him God today. And because of that trip, Jeff, you had taken my level of spirituality to a whole nother level that I didn't even know existed, and to witness his miracles, the things that we got to experience over there, whether it was through, those that were coming up that were suffering from black magic or all of these weird and crazy things that you see on TV and you see on the movies, but to be able to experience God's work in a place where you would think that he forgot about, and question, why are these people going through the things that they're going through? But there's what's called self-will, and there are miracles that happen that change our minds, that change our will, over to his will. And if I ever had any doubt that there was a power out there greater than myself, that day I've been a changed person. And because of that experience that I got to pray for that young man, and I don't know a lot of prayers. I know the Lord's Prayer, I know the Serenity Prayer, and I know a couple other prayers and things like that. But after that, it was like, and then there was more people approaching me.
Yeah.
I don't know what that young man's life is today, but hopefully there was, God had spoke through me to him, and hopefully
Yeah.
he's on the right path today, which I'm sure he is, because of what we got to experience in the words that God spoke through me to him.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'm making any sense right now, but it's just something that you have to experience, right?
Yeah.
And I think there was actually a photo that somebody took of that moment when we got to experience that over there. But anyhow, I believe you, Jeff. I'm not sure why my mic's cutting in and out. You guys might not hear it.
We hear you
But
good.
okay. But yeah, so I wanted to hear your what was the most impactful and what your biggest struggle was over there. So what keeps you motivated? Let's talk about that, because I know inspiring can be very tiring, and I know it at just the small level that I'm at. How do you stay motivated? How do you not get resentful? How do you not get pissed off at people when you're just continuously pouring into them and things just don't appear to be going the way that they should be?
Yeah. Well, that's actually a great question, because I think that's not just in ministry, but I think it's in life. I think it's in business. It's in anything really. Um, I'll tell you, love is the most powerful force on earth. It's more powerful than anything else. And, I'll give you a quick example. One of my last trips, two trips ago, we were ministering in a church, and there was this young girl who came to the altar, maybe 10, maybe 11. And I went to lay hands on her and pray for her. And she started like screaming and falling on the ground, as you've seen before. And she started having like demons, like just manifesting in her. And she was like screaming and yelling and kicking and fighting. And we prayed and we cast these things out of her. And when she realized what was happening, she was looking around crying, like so embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
And what had happened is both of her parents are gone. She'd been sexually abused at 10 years old. And she was so embarrassed, because when that happens publicly, it's like, oh God, everybody just saw this. And she was sitting there crying. I come down off the pulpit from preaching, and I sat in the front row. I just gave the microphone to the pastor and I said, here, you finish. And I went and sat by her, and I just put my arm around her, and I just said, you don't realize what God just did for you. He didn't expose you. He didn't embarrass you. I said, but he just pointed you out. And I said, I can tell you from this day forward, we got you. You got a family now in America, that we've got you. Your parents that you were born from may not be here anymore, but you've got a family now that's not going to give up on you. And from that time, she's been in school. She never could afford school. She's in school now. And I got a call about 3 weeks ago that the home that she was renting she was living with a church member. The home was getting demolished because the landowner says, I want the land, not the house. So they were tearing it down. And so we were able to get her in a new place, a new house. And so they just sent the videos and the pictures. And so what am I saying is, I'm saying that it's not fake. We actually love the people. And when the people count on you, when they count on you to succeed and to win, I wake up every morning before 4:00 in the morning. Do I need to? Yes, I do. Because there's people, not just my own household, but there's people across the world that are counting me to keep my head straight, to keep my focus straight, to keep everything. And I look at them, and I look when they thank me, and they thank our team, and they thank everybody that's a part of this. I can't let them down. So what keeps me motivated every day is something bigger than me. When you look into the eyes of people that had no hope, that had no chance, and because you said yes to God, it wasn't that much for me to be able to get them a house, to be able to get them, because rent is nothing out there. And so that's what keeps me motivated every day, is truly the love for the people, because of the way that they've loved me. I spent most of my life not being loved because I wasn't a very lovable person. And so when I felt love for the first time, outside of like my family, my wife, when I felt love for the first time, I realized like I want to give more and more and more of this to people who've never experienced it. Because if you've never experienced being loved before, then you've never really lived life. So that's really what keeps me fired up every single day, man, is just the people that are counting on us to win.
Yeah. Amen to that. Amen to that. Because I've seen the work that you put in, the hours that you put in, your full-time job now with the roofing company and stuff. And this isn't your first rodeo when it comes to construction and stuff. So you're doing an amazing job. Just so you know, you be both
Thank
on
you.
both fronts. You're
Thank
doing an amazing job. And we love, and before we get off here, I want to make sure that people know how to get a hold of you, and if they want to donate or participate or join you on a crusade, what is the easiest way that someone can contact your
So the
website?
best way is the website is impactnationsglobal.com. There's a place there where you can reach us that way. Is probably the best way. There is also a Facebook page, impactnationsglobal.com, or I'm sorry, Impact Nations Global. But I'd say the website is probably the best way, to do those types of things. And especially if they want to be a part, we're actually, it's interesting in our roofing company right now, we're doing a promotion. Most people are giving away iPads and things, but what we're doing is for referrals, we're putting the name of the people who give the referrals over, and we're doing a drawing that whoever wins is getting an all expenses paid trip to go on a mission trip with us. We wanted to do something different that was based on our core values, and so it's kind of exciting to see. But yeah, impactnationsglobal.com is the website, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Vic put it in the comments there, so anybody that's listening wants to participate or donate. I got one more question for you, Jeff, before we get off here. And I know you touched on a couple of these things, but what has working with Impact Nation taught you about leadership, faith, and service?
One of the biggest things is, put yourself second. We are so blessed. We have everything we could ever ask for and everything that we could ever need. And I think it's not just in ministry, but it's in life. It's in marriage. It's literally be willing to be second place. Be willing to put what you want and what you need second, because, I've learned that when you give to others what they need by default, I think it was Jim Rohn that said that. No, I'm sorry, it was Zig Ziglar. If you help enough other people get what they need by default, you'll get what you need. And I truly believe that. And that's one of the things that's taught me is you have to kind of die to yourself and die to your own plans and say, yes, God, whatever you say, I'll do. And I found that there's more peace and there's more joy and there's more just everything when you're not always trying to be first. I the word I and the word me has destroyed so many relationships and so many ministries and so many things. Like I can't even count how many. So I would say I've learned to put myself second, and by default, I found my joy in that place because I'm able to serve. And Jesus says himself, the highest position that you could be in is not king, not pastor, not preacher, but servant. And I've learned that the hard way, and now I'm thankful to be able to be that.
Amen to that. And in order to lead, you need to know how to serve first.
That's right.
Most definitely. And that, I think that is a great message, Jeff. I mean, and I think for a lot of people, leading isn't about, being a dictator. It's about empowering and impacting other people's lives and giving them the strength and courage and pointing out to them that they do have gifts. And sometimes it's our job to point out their gifts and help and enable that gift so they can flourish within your dream as well. And I talk about it all the time. I think it was Ed Milet that our dreams have to be big enough for everyone else's dreams to flourish in. But I'd like to take that to one step higher. It's like our legacy has to be big enough for everyone else's legacy to flourish in, and to keep the ego out of the way and allow people to grow. And
100%.
that's really what has helped me over the years too. It's like, and you talked about it earlier. It's like, it all starts here. It all starts on working on ourselves and getting out of the way at times and knowing when to lead from behind and knowing when to grab a hold of the helm. And it's tough. And sometimes it's hard to navigate those waters, because sometimes it's like, is this one of those times that I need to step in? Is this one of the times that I need to let them make a mistake? Because being the human beings that we are, we don't like to see people screw up or take a step back. We want to help, but then that can also be a dangerous area too, by catering too much to them, because then they can't figure things out on their own. But before we get off here, because we're just about at our hour mark here, I believe. What is something that you want to leave our guest with? Whether it has to do with Christmas, whether it has to do with Christ, or just something in general. What would you like to leave us with that we can
Well,
carry
yeah.
into
First thing I want to say that if people want to reach us, not just to give and not just to, but if they want to reach us, if there's something that somebody needs, if someone needs a little hope, and if they need someone to talk to, reach out there and we'll find you, because that's really our number one purpose. And it doesn't cost anything to have a phone conversation. We don't need money to talk to someone. So that's number one. Number two, I would just pray that many of us have been raised in church. Many of us have spent time in church, but sometimes we think that just because our parents had a relationship with God, that sometimes we automatically get grafted in. But we all have to make a decision for ourselves. And I would just pray that each and every person listening today would not see how good of things that we've done or how good, but look back at your life and just reflect at all the moments and times that he's brought you out of, that he's brought you into today and given us another opportunity. And so I would just say through this Christmas season, as we're with family and we're exchanging gifts, just sit back and just smile and just enjoy the fact and know that he gave us another chance. He gave us another opportunity. And don't worry about tomorrow. The Bible says, don't stress tomorrow. Tomorrow has its own set of worries. Just focus on today. And when Jesus says, he taught us to pray, says, give us this day our daily bread. Just worry about today. Enjoy where you're at right now. Don't worry about tomorrow. Yesterday's already gone. Just be present in the moment that you're in right now and just let God do what he's going to do. So I appreciate you, Ty, and very much. And I look forward to next time I'll come in the studio and hang out. We'll go grab some food.
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea. You're not that far away from us. You're about 4-hour drive or so. It's not too far. We should definitely hook up and connect more often, Jeff. I take the blame for not reaching out more and supporting what it is that you do. But just know that we are supporting you from a distance. And I love what you're doing, Jeff. Keep doing what you're doing, and don't ever get resentful, man, because you are making an impact, and thank God for you, and thank God for the tribe of people that you've created and rallied to have the impact on the amount of people that you're having impact on. And you are truly a blessing to more people than I'm sure you can fathom. So keep doing what you're doing.
Well, it means a lot, brother. I thank you.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you and your family, and Merry Christmas to everybody that's watching and who will be watching this on the replay. And next week we will be streaming live once again, Tuesday at 8 a.m., the day before New Year's Day. That way everybody can get some rest, spend some time with their families. Until then, you guys take it easy, and Merry Christmas, everybody.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.